Okay, in this segment we're going to go over a few things about safety just to remind you. And one of the things that we have to worry about in this business is the slip, trip, fall hazard. All right, this is wet floors compounded by cleaning solutions. Becomes very slippery, especially if you're working with stripping a floor. If you got an acrylic floor finish down and you're stripping that off, very, very slippery stuff, so you want to be careful. Make sure that you're wearing a slip-resistant shoe. You can go to shoesforcrews.com or just do a Google search, find a ton of different types of shoes out there. Proper footwear is a must, and then inadequate hazard identification. As far as somebody else coming into your cleaning area, and generally we're cleaning when folks are not working, they're not in the building, but periodically we come into a 24-hour access area where we are going to have people walking through potentially our cleaning area. If so, the rule of thumb is 8 to 10 feet from any ingress or egress from that area, we have to put a wet floor sign out. All right, we're going to give folks proper identification before they get to our cleaning area. Give them a chance to have a heads up before they slip, trip, or fall. Employee training, that's why we allow you to bring employees back or new employees that come on board. You can send some of those back here for us to train, and we will train them properly. But if you're doing it yourself, make sure that you've gone through the training manual with them, equip them with the proper footwear so that they know they have no slip, trip, fall hazard, or they less slip, trip, fall. And also that they're wearing the proper protective equipment. All right, personal protective equipment is PPE. Safety glasses and chemical resistant gloves. Anytime that you're working with a chemical, you want some sort of a safety glasses. These are not safety glasses. They should wrap around. When you're mixing that stuff up, a nice splash of Tylenol grout cleaner or super punch in your eye, yeah, that'll ruin your day. So make sure that your employees especially are wearing those. Now, gloves. None of the chemical that we have in the package will give you a chemical burn, but however, long-term exposure, meaning every day, all day long, exposure to these chemicals is going to be damaging to your health, okay? They will seep into your skin, and long-term, you don't want all of that coming into your body. We as a people, especially in the United States, we're chronically dehydrated, so when our body is dehydrated, anything we come in contact with will absorb in. All right, so we want to make sure chemical resistant gloves, that's going to keep us from accumulating, the toxicity from the chemicals on a long-term basis. Air movers, also in conjunction with floor fans in confined spaces. We will put our floor fans down to dry the floor, but if I'm in a very small space, no windows, I'm going to make sure and use an air mover, which is a floor fan, basically, like that will exchange out the air. So you can prop the door open with it, point it out so that it's taking that air that has the higher level of the particulates in it and have that pushed out. All right, again, especially in small confined spaces. So here's some examples of proper eye protection, protective gloves. Remember with protective gloves, when you are handling your hoses, when you're handling your pump-up sprayers, it's almost impossible not to get your stuff all over your hoses. So if you're wearing the protective gloves, you'll keep those chemicals out of your body. Wet floor signs, respirators. We generally will not need a respirator. Nothing on any of the MSDS sheets of any of the chemical that we provide for you requires a respirator. However, you may be experimenting with other chemical out there. We'll make sure to read the MSDS sheet to find out exactly what type of personal protective equipment is required. All right? Nothing that we have requires a respirator. However, in those small confined spaces, especially if I'm dealing with chemical, when I'm spraying in a vertical surface, possibly even on ceilings, I want to make sure that I'm wearing a respirator. Because if I'm in a small space and I'm spraying up here, I've got more particulates in the air, more possibility that I start to inhale that stuff. We talked about non-slip shoes, and here's an example of an air mover. All right, so you don't want to be this guy. You don't want to be in the wrong place where a lot of protective equipment is required and you've got nothing. All right, you want to protect yourself. Look at your MSDS sheet. It's a material safety data sheet. It's going to give you all the safety information that you'll need. Again, this is a chemical burn. Nothing that we have provided to you can do that to you. But there are some nasty chemicals out there, and you need to know what's in the stuff that you're working with. I'll refer you back to that story in tab 2 of your training manual towards the end, where all the safety stuff is at. There's a story in there about a guy who blew himself up working with, I think it was a hydrofluoric acid, put it in a metal pump-up sprayer. If you look at the MSDS sheet that's provided in there, hydrofluoric acid will off-gas with metal to produce hydrogen gas. Okay, so he created a bomb for himself. That's why we provide plastic pump-up sprayers. We don't want you, blowing yourself up. But none of the stuff that we've provided can do that to you. Now, we caught Roger, okay, working on the weekend with his car, and this is not proper safety, okay? He's got a couple of boards there. He's got the wheel chocked, but I think he's welding on the gas tank, so we don't want any of that kind of stuff. We want to think safe. This is the kind of information that you'll find on any given MSDS sheet. Specific chemical reactions, long-term risks from exposure, your pH value of your chemical will also be there. Up to 16 different items on any MSDS sheet. Now the ones that we provide have several boxes on there with all the kind of information. You want to make sure if you purchase chemical from another place that you ask for or go to the website and download the MSDS sheet. Now, it's very important. By law, you must carry the MSDS sheets in the tow vehicle. Not necessarily in the trailer, although you may have some there, but in the tow vehicle. If the Department of Transportation pulls you over, you need to be able to present those right away. So they need to be accessible and in your vehicle. All right, so knowing what's on your MSDS sheets is vital. Knowing what to do and sometimes more importantly what not to do can protect yourselves and others. Remember, safety always or hospital hallways, it's your choice. Anytime that you need any extra information as far as emergency phone numbers, composition makeup, potential health hazards, firefighting measures and all that stuff up there, that's where you're going to find this information is on your MSDS sheet. And finally, just a quick word about people, pets, and plants. You want to keep undiluted or strongly mixed chemical away directly from going on to plants. All right, even your alkaline chemical, which when it's mixed and turned into the gray water after cleaning, which is good for the plants, in its concentrated forms, it can be harmful to plants. So especially when we're working outside where we're spraying stuff around, we want to make sure to keep that off of the lawn and the shrubs around the concrete and stuff. Want to really take and ask folks about their pets, because there's some strange pets out there. You might remember the story about the ferret. But anyways, we will get, you can call me on that if you hadn't heard that story. Some folks may have pets in the house. You've got to ask them, okay? They may not be obvious like a big dog that's there that you can totally see, but I want to make sure that any birds are out of the house if possible. I want to make sure if I've got fish tanks that I can cover those up with a sheet, probably double folded over, so none of the chemical can waft down over into the water. And small pets, hamsters, snakes, all kinds of other critters, I want to get them out of the house so that they don't get hurt, lost, sucked up through the vacuum like the ferret did, or anything else. And people, I'll just leave it at this. Say something to the effect of, we're going to need free and open access to all the areas where we'll be cleaning today. So if you wouldn't mind, if you'd put up any valuable or sensitive materials, that would help us out a lot. Again, we're going to need free and open access to all areas where we'll be cleaning. What you're in effect telling them is, hey, listen, if there's anything that you don't want me to see or any valuables, you need to put those away, okay? And that might cue them up to, put some stuff away they might have in their bedroom or what else. All right, so people, pets, and plants, be safe, protective gear, proper footwear, wear gloves, make sure that your MSDS sheets are in the tow vehicle.